Who is Isaiah Palmer? Tia's conflict and no indictment? We talk about it in a few minutes. Come on back.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's happening, everybody? Hello. What's happening, Kelsey? Miss AJ.
Hey.
What's up, everybody? Loving this new music from AfterBuzz TV. This is the Red Line season finale, episodes 7 and 8. We are here covering it all for you today. Episode 7, I must tell you what we have inherited. In episode 8, this victory alone is not the change we seek. I have my wonderful co-host next to me, Miss Kelsey Hightower.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
We also have Miss AJ Talks, and sitting next to Miss AJ
guys.
Talks is the Argentinian assassin,
Ooh, who that is?
Mr. Sebastian Sozzi.
How y'all doing? Oh, for me. Shout out Funk Flex. How y'all doing?
What's happening, man? How you doing, man?
Very good. I'm happy to be here. Thanks
Yes,
for having me.
we're
Absolutely.
glad to have you. He is the gentleman who plays the one and only Officer Carranza, Diego Carranza, on the Red Line. So, before we get started, we have so much that we're going to do. Our special segment is going to be an acute interview with Mr. Sebastian tonight. We're going to get to know him a little bit better. And if anything he's doing, he'll be able to share it with you later in the show. Now, first, Miss Kelsey, please let me know how you felt about these episodes.
I mean, this is the final episodes. This was crazy how fast the season has gone.
Yes.
And because they aired 2 episodes at a time, it just feels like it flew by.
did.
I want more. So I hope that we'll get some more. But as always, it was loaded with lots of things to talk about, which I'm
Yes.
excited to do.
Well,
throughout the show.
since you want more, I'll reach out to Ava and see what I can pull, okay?
Please do. Thank you for doing that for me. I appreciate it.
All right, Miss AJ Talks, what do you have for us, ma'am? What did you think tonight?
I think the episode was very realistic. I got it dealt with a lot of issues as said before, like the systemic racism and institutional failures, everything. So it gave a very realistic approach to stuff that may be happening in the real events that have occurred
All right.
in the past.
Well, now, Mr. Sebastian, we're going to save you for a minute. I have a couple of questions we're going to ask you. And I do, we know that we see in the beginning of episode 7 that Isaiah Palmer is the gentleman who is referred to as Jirah's father, the biological father. And so he decides to make this announcement in the middle of a rally that Tia is having, and it interrupts the rally. So I want to know how you all feel, Kelsey first, about Isaiah coming forward with who he is at that moment.
Well, at that moment, throughout that whole season, we've seen people coming up in kind of the worst moments, especially Jirah's biological parents.
That's right.
So it wasn't shocking that this happened at this time, but I'm glad he did. He saw an opportunity, and from his perspective, he was like, okay, this was the time that I knew this is my daughter, so I'm going to seize the moment and talk to her. And Tia is really taken aback because she does not want Jirah to know him and have that relationship, which is something we've seen from Jirah's parents in the past. So this is like a theme that keeps coming up. But you have to remember, we found out in this episode that he was 15 years old when he had Jirah, and that he's lived a lifetime.
A whole lifetime.
Since that, and people change. So I think that, that was good that she was able to see him and meet him because she got to form her own decision about her biological father, which there's a lot of things to unpack with Isaiah's character. We'll get into that, I think, later on.
All right. Well, what about you, Sebastian? What did you think about Isaiah coming forward at that moment?
I think it's, a natural step for, I think, most people who have children who may have had to give them up because of, young age or because not being on the right path to raise a child. I mean, you see your kid on television and in such a magnificent fashion. I believe most human beings are going to want to reach out, and there might be other motivations that we can't speak to, but it seemed like he was pure of heart, and he felt like he changed, and he wanted to meet his daughter and be a better man.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
What
found
about you?
God.
Okay.
He found God. That'll do
God.
something to you.
Okay.
Yeah. I felt like it was inappropriate at that point in time, while it's an event going on, and for you to spill, to spill that type of news right then and there was a lie. I feel like he could have waited till after it was over.
Okay.
But, you know, him coming forth and just admitting or revealing that he is the father and he's willing to be in her life, I think that was very positive and it was good. And I think it would have been beneficial if they didn't fall out.
Okay. Well, the question that I asked myself is Isaiah Palmer a con man? That was the first.
Is he looking for something?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
is
the
he
first thing I
looking-
asked.
Really?
Yes, I mean, come on. Tia Young is not someone who's not popular. You absconded when the baby was right when the baby was born. You left. 17 years is the time that is considered a career criminal. So what have you been doing for 17 years? Yes, you could have found God, but a lot of people find God in jail. So my question was, is he a con man? That's the first thing that popped in my head,
Really?
because I kind of harken back to what you said. If you had pure thoughts, this is my opinion. If you had pure thoughts, you would not have waited to do it in such a public forum. You might have gone behind the
When
scenes.
you have something to
Okay.
gain.
Right. You
There's
would
a
have been
lot that
like,
you can gain, yeah.
exactly, gain a lot by making yourself public. You could have gone and said, Tia, I'm here. And she would have been like, don't say anything. I got you, bruh. That's just my opinion. You know? So
can
I
feel
just,
that.
okay, I just want to know.
I can understand what you said.
It makes for good TV though when he stands
does.
up in the middle of a crowd. In front,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's,
You know, you're right.
Ooh, no, he didn't. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But I think you should have your antennas up, and I think obviously Tia does.
Yeah.
Because she's not really happy about it or having it. But there's a theme in this show a lot is parents fearing losing their child. you
Yeah.
know, with Jirah and her father, that happens a lot. He kind of feels like he's not enough for her, and she wants some more. And in the end, you know, she reaffirms that he's
all
the
that.
dad that she needs.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Okay.
that was a beautiful scene to me when I saw that tonight. I thought that was
Okay.
nice. Yeah.
All right. Well,
And
we'll
they kind of good. They acted it kind of good.
They did do well.
They kind of good.
We've been enjoying the entire series. Everybody has just been bringing us in, and it's like you forget. I remember I know have some friends who are actors and actresses, and they always say the best type of work is when you forget the character.
Absolutely.
You know, like I'm not looking at Sebastian
As a viewer or as an actor?
as a viewer.
Okay.
So I'm looking
Works
at
both ways.
Oh, okay, well, good. Yeah, I'm looking at you as Officer Carranza. I'm not looking at you as Sebastian.
know.
And so that really tells me your skills. You know, I mean, you really spoke to that character, which we're going to talk about later. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. see, my homies, they still can't believe I'm a cop when they see me in uniform, so they don't believe it. I'm glad you do.
I do.
It's very believable.
Oh, good.
I will say
I'm
that.
glad. I hope so.
Of course, they're led by things they've known
I'll tell you,
previously.
you put on the uniform, it really does something to you. So
Yeah.
it kind of does have to work, you know, costumes in general.
Yeah, of
This
course.
uniform is like, immediately, I'm like, okay, I'm doing cop
Ready
stuff.
for business.
Should have
What
worn a
you doing over
uniform,
there? Put
yeah.
that down. Yeah, get back in your car. I just started telling people. Felt
He's
good.
regulating y'all.
Yeah,
I'll make sure you drive off
I'm saying.
ahead of me tonight so I don't like speed off, you know.
I actually pulled somebody over in Chicago by accident.
What? How did you do that?
Do you remember the scene where I kind of have the tape in the car and I'm thinking and I pull
Yeah,
off?
Yes.
yeah.
So I had to do that a bunch of times. I had to put on the siren. And one take, I just speed off. And they're like, all right, cut, come back around. And I try to turn, this car pulls over in front of me. I'm like, what is this dude doing? Like, why is he stopping? And the PA in the back's like, bro, I think you're pulling him over.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And I did kind of have a little fun with him. That's against the law. So
Don't do this
I
at
rolled,
home.
I rolled down the window and I looked at him. He looked so scared. I said, hey, brother, next time you drive safe. It's your luck. I kept it moving. It was pretty funny. But I didn't do a lot of that. Just one time.
That's what's up.
So
is
technically,
great.
I pulled the man over.
That's what's up.
Should have cuffed him.
Off the bucket list.
And that probably like helped you stay in character for
Oh,
that.
I was more cop that night than ever. I believed it that night. Speaking of getting lost in it.
That's dope, man.
There you go.
Well, let's move ahead. Let's talk about Officer Carranza. We're gonna go to the end really quickly. So we see at the end of episode 7, Paul Evans is having a conflict. He finds out that Officer Carranza, well, first Calder walks in and approaches everyone in the police station, and he's very concise. I know one of you all is responsible. I want to know, how can you do half of a job and allow us to sit there and suffer? And we saw in that scene, Officer Carranza felt, I won't say guilty, but felt accountable at that moment because he's looking. The commander has no idea what's going on, but he does know that someone in the precinct did leak the video. So now Officer Carranza finally meets up with Paul Evans, and he tells him the truth. He's like, "Look, man, you were trying to sue somebody who you put in pain." How did y'all feel about that scene? How did you feel when Officer Carranza Paul approached Officer Carranza and he told him how he was raised?
Well, I I don't know. That was a really tough scene to watch, and I think that brought a lot of truth to. I mean, what this show does is it like brings light to kind of some truth and what's going on, and so I think that we saw like a real perspective from Paul as far as like where he grew up and the type of person he is from Officer Carranza's speech, and what he's saying is like, you have been raised this way, and you're like in a way raised kind of racist,
right.
and that's the person that you are, and I know a dozen other people who are just like you. So it really brought truth, I think, to what's going on and a lot of the issues that come from that.
Well, I do want to bring this up before I get you all's opinions. So Officer Carranza named 3 parts of town that are in Chicago, that are outlined in Chicago: Beverly, Greenwood, excuse me, and Inglewood. Now, Beverly, I did the research. Beverly has a median income of $90,000. And Greenwood has a median income of $89,000, 86% white. Inglewood, which was named, 69% black, $19,000 is the median income. Well, I'm from Atlanta. Any median income that's under 72 or 75, we kind of steer clear from. Yeah. I grew up in a median income of around 120 grand a year. So I'm used to a certain demographic as far as the people I interact with. So it was valid that you brought that up as the character to let Paul know, hey, you may not be self-aware, but everyone else around you is. So
yeah,
how did you feel about that?
Well, it's true to all of us, and especially anybody who grew up in a metropolitan or more of a city. There's pockets, you know what I'm saying? Like I grew up in New York City. And obviously it's very diverse, but at the same time there's pockets. You go to Harlem and there's the black crowd. You go up a little further and there's Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, Brooklyn guys. Everybody got their thing, and I really think that people in general are just doing their best in life, but somebody's best is often defined or seen through the lens of learned behavior and of the culture, and what you've been exposed to.
Right.
So I think the show speaks to. Paul's character is not necessarily he wanted to do bad, but you see in the last episode, he's struggling with looking in himself to see what kind of subconscious things have I been taught that are dictating my actions.
That's right.
And I think myself, and I think most people that feel marginalized and all over the world, but in America specifically, I think that's kind of one of the things we're asking like our white brothers and sisters. It's like, I understand it might be hard, but if you look in and realize all the things that we've been taught, to not love ourselves or for you to be scared of us or whatever that is. And I think that the fact that the show is speaking on that is beautiful.
It is.
And I think the fact that I was able to be the voice of some of those feelings and truths was just an honor, man. It was just, so I loved filming that scene. Like, I read it and I was like, I knew it in a second. And I just went out there and said it because I've said it before.
Yeah, of
I've
course.
said those words. Obviously in different circumstances, but I've said that. I felt that.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I really love playing the role.
That's awesome.
Because I was like, yeah, word.
Yeah, but it's true to a point. It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. AJ?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like the show definitely touched on a lot, as well as when he brought those things to light because, like you said, it is stuff that we don't think about. And, stuff that we probably do unintentionally and unaware, which goes back into microaggression and you just saying stuff and not really knowing that, wait, is this offensive or, am I offending someone?
Yeah.
And it's just, she brought up a lot of issues and I really think that the show is very underrated and a lot of people need to watch it because
yes, that's right.
Word. No, but seriously, because she touched on a lot of issues and stuff that's going on now and, it needs to get more attention. Because Ava DuVernay, she did that.
Yeah, she did.
She did that, yeah.
All right, well, all right, so let's give Carranza a little break. He's a little tired. He's been pulling people over. Let's give him a little break for a second.
Matter of fact, let me go outside and make sure the streets are safe.
Y'all watch out now. But so I do want to talk about Tia. So we see Sharice Gray, who is in a leadership position under Nathan Gordon's campaign. So she reaches out to Tia in person, actually, and she basically tells her, I'm here because Nathan sent me to be a spy for you. He sent me to be a fly on the wall. I'm going to let you know that I'm going to be on that wall, and I want to see what you come up with. And so as we move further along, we see that Sharice is willing to relinquish her position with Nathan Gordon in order to gain more with Tia because she thinks that Tia is the future. Do you think that Tia made a good decision in going with Charisse as far as having her on her campaign?
Yes, I think so. And I saw a issue that I think is very popular too is like women fighting against other women, and Gordon put her in a position to fight against Tia.
Speak on it.
And this is something that I feel like is it's so wrong today too. It's just that there's so many women who are just fighting against other women, just because they're trying to, save their career. They're trying to keep their career because she said that if she doesn't do this, Gordon's going to make her to where she doesn't have a job.
That's right.
She can't get any kind of work because she'll just be ruined in the industry. And so it's
blackballed.
Yeah, it's very much like, I have to do this to survive. And
Right.
so I'm going to pick a fight against you as another woman. And I feel like they had to fight that out, and Tia had to bring her on and be like, okay, I want you to be on my team. I'm going to look past this, and they're going to be stronger as women together than they are fighting. And I just
Kelsey.
feel like you see that too many times, in today's society. That's how I feel.
AJ, I want to move to you on this subject. How did you feel about that?
How did I feel about
The women on women conflict where Charisse...
Yeah, definitely agree with Kelsey. They definitely tried to put two women against each other, two strong black women against each other. And, that's typical what they normally do in any type of situation where it's like, we can work together. We can all have this black girl magic together. So, yes.
Do you think they can make magic together? Tia and Charisse?
Yes, of course.
Okay. You think so, Kelsey?
Well, yeah, I think we start seeing that in the final episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Sebastian?
I'm thinking about the long lost father of Jirah and how you had to be like, is he a con man?
Right.
And I think one of the things the last episode touches on is like, is this the first step in them becoming the monster that they've been trying to slay? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So, she's doing dirt.
Yeah.
And, when you get in that arena, there's only one way to play and win.
Yes.
And so what happens is you got to be careful and not turn into what you've been trying to fight.
Yeah.
And that's a common kind of story. I think probably in politics. I don't think there's any way to just be the nice guy and come up in that industry.
Okay. All right. Well, before we move on to episode 8, we have some things that we want to share with you here at AfterBuzz TV.
Yes, guys, thank you so much for tuning in right now. And if you're watching us right now on YouTube, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating and also comment. Tell all of your friends. We love you guys so much. And thank you so much for hopping into the live chat. We love you guys and we appreciate you. So, yeah.
All right.
I love y'all too.
All right. Well, all right. So let's move on to episode 8. The show opens up. I'm telling you, I was having some issues with this second episode. The episode opens up and everybody is awaiting the results of the case with Paul Evans versus Calder. And we find out that there is no indictment. After Vic does her testimony, after Carranza has his testimony, we still find out that there is no indictment on Paul Evans. Kelsey, please tell me, what did you think?
I mean, that was heavy. I think we all verbally disagreed with that as we saw that. And it was to a point where you knew that he was going to get indicted. Like, it was, like you mentioned, everything was leading towards this. And in such a way that these last 2 episodes set up Paul in such a different manner than we've seen him on any other platform this series. Before, we've always seen him in a bar. We've seen him getting into fights. We've seen how terrible his family is. These last 2 episodes, we've seen him being almost nice and apologizing. He goes up to Officer Carranza and apologizes to him. He's just so torn up and beat up inside and dealing with this emotional battle that we've been seeing. That for a split second, I was like, oh, he's getting indicted. Oh, that
Right.
sucks. And then they were like, no indictment. I was like, oh,
That's right.
no, like it brings you back to reality
Yeah.
and you're overwhelmed with, hold on. We knew like everything was supposed to line up, and we see this in current events. Like this is what happens. And it's just, why that's kind of the
Why does it
question.
keep happening? Can you tell us, Sebastian, why it keeps happening?
You gonna come to the cop?
I'm coming to the cop.
Well, yeah, I mean, you said it. It's realistic that he didn't get indicted. I mean, that's if I knew, I would tell you. I have no idea. But a lot of people, a lot of these cops, they get away with making these huge mistakes, as Paul want to call it. But these mistakes ruin lives, take lives. And I think that the big thing about the show is that it affected so many lives. Just one event, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things they're trying to show is like it's not just the black man shot or the white cop whose life is on the line afterwards. There's so many people around. And just people watching, it hurts your spirit.
It does.
Right. And with Paul, it's exactly that. He has affected, I think I wrote this down, that his decision has affected so many people except himself almost. No. So with Vic getting fired. He decides to affect
himself. He doesn't want to be his dad. That's
right.
what I think.
Right.
Yes.
And so he's like, one way is to get out of this.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know?
And he does that because nobody else is letting him out. Like, everybody else is letting him get off on it. And he has tried time and time again to apologize and then to be taken off the force. And I feel like nobody is letting him do that. And so he just has to quit because that's the only way for him. But he has to live with his decision. You can't let them
win. I mean, that's what, that's what the cop side of things
right.
is. You can't let them win. You can't leave. We got to fight this because one loss can, can dictate the next trial,
that's
the next
true.
trial, and the next trial. And that's
right.
what some people on one side are hoping for. But
yeah, and that scene that you were just talking about, that just really shows the extent that police will go through to cover up their mistakes and to cover themselves. And it's just like you said, Kelsey, it just makes you wonder, oh my gosh.
Are you okay?
I thought that was a thing. I was like, do the damn thing, girl.
It's all good.
No, I mean that
put them on all of them.
It's getting my string from a pen. All right, scene. But Kelsey, it just makes you wonder, like you said, how much of this goes on in real life, current events where you have the truth, you have people that come forward, you have it right here in your hands, and you still choose to cover it up. And I just feel like in America that, we do have a history of blaming a victim and then making people question, what they really know. And, it challenges people's motives that do come forward when they do have information regarding things. And it's like, when they try to persist and like, no, this is what's really going on, then they make them to appear incompetent or insane or, something's wrong with them. And, it's just a constant cycle of gaslighting. In a sense where it's abuse, and then you got the denial, and then you had the victim blaming. And, I was just thinking, like, this goes back all the way to slavery, where, people they tried to make slavery seem like it was, consensual or that they wanted to do it. Even just back to last year when the textbooks in the history where they made slaves seem like it was what they call them, indentured servants.
Right, yeah.
That they wanted to come over. And that was in a school book in the schools. Yeah. And it was on the news and stuff. It's like, no, that's not what happened. You can't rewrite history and then try to make it seem, that it didn't happen or, oh, it's not that bad. So, like, this situation just reminded me back to, back then in the slavery times where, slavery supporters would insist that slavery was more, violent, and they would get in trouble if they spoke out against slavery or if they revealed what was really happening. So, it's just everything repeating itself, and it's just the issue that America needs to deal with.
That's right.
Well, speaking up is hard. I mean, they always tell you, see something, say something. I mean, we always ask, quote unquote, good cops say something about the bad cops and whatever, and that's not as black and white. But as you see, Carranza, he basically has to forfeit his career.
He does.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yeah. Well, he even talks to his wife about it.
Yeah.
He's sitting there and she's like, babe,
I'm basically asking her, like, are you ready to deal with what we're going to have to deal with if I do this? Because I can throw the tape out and just forget it ever happened.
Yep.
But my conscience didn't let him, Diego.
Of course not. Of course not.
Well,
but hey.
And not only your character, but also Vic, the
his ex-partner.
His ex-partner, she also spoke out against him in the hearing, and she told him that she was going to plead the fifth, but she put her job on the line too. Yeah. And there's all these officers, all these cops that are putting their jobs on the line to do this, and then nothing comes about it. So, that's just what we're seeing today. And I think what you were saying, Sebastian, is they don't want to necessarily say that he's guilty because this could set it up for how future trials.
You set a precedent, yeah. I mean,
right. You're setting a precedent.
It's always going to fall behind. He was doing,
right.
his duty. He was following protocol, whatever the case may be. Yeah. I will say, I'm nothing close to a cop, but I played a cop in many different cities. I walked the streets. I usually would kind of walk off set. They tell you not to do that in uniform. And it's been a blessing to kind of see the other side of things. You can never really understand or empathize till you walk in somebody's shoes. And like, if you walk in the hood in a cop uniform in any city I've ever been in, they threaten you.
Yeah.
They don't like you. They're hostile to you. And I understand where that comes from. I totally understand where it comes from. But it's interesting to be in that uniform. And as someone who's like, nah, I'm on your side, like I get it, and they're just looking at me like, nah, pig.
No,
like,
you're not.
They're just coming at me, and you know, a lot of these, Paul's a young guy.
Yeah, he is.
And you're scared for your own life, and in that situation, you know, when they say it's a split second, like they're not lying.
It's true.
You know, no one wants to be in that position. Diego says it. It's not a call anyone ever wants to make.
Yep.
It's just it's a tough job, but you sign up for it. And we just hope that when you do sign up for it, you do it with the best intentions and you're getting trained right.
Yeah, that's true.
To not be so scared in those moments.
Yeah.
Well, training is a big deal. My dad, my brother, and brother-in-law were all in the military.
Okay.
And of course, they don't ever divulge the seriousness of the things they did. But we have heard stories, you know, to a point of the decisions they had to make. And I remember my dad said when he got out of Vietnam, he was going to be a Georgia State police officer, which is a CHP out here. And he said he walked up the steps of the Capitol and he said, you know what? My PTSD is too serious right now. He was like, everybody's going to die if I become a police officer.
Wow.
And he said, I am not going to go that route. But he was self-aware to know.
Good for him. A lot of people aren't.
Right. And so,
How
and
do you
that's
diagnose yourself?
exactly. And so for me, saying what you said, like, it's important to understand that experiences you have can lead you in that role. And my dad was precocious enough to understand, hey, I have an issue that I need to address before I can move forward in any career. And he chose not to serve as a police officer. And for that, I feel like his life was much better. I feel like his life was much better because of it. So that's very important that, you know, mental health is something that's very important. And we need to make sure that that is a large reason to, I guess, to analyze yourself when you're looking at certain careers. I would like to move forward, however, into Tia Brooms the Trash. So we see that Tia is talking about trying to see how she's going to maneuver around this campaign in order to win without being dirty. But Sharice comes to her and says, hey, man, look, if we're going to do this, we got to get it done the way I see fit. I have worked for Gordon. I know his files. I know his history. How are we going to fix this problem? Well, it turns out that she, to a point, fixed the problem because she won. And that was the part that really spoke to me. To me, it showed that the community knows that Tia is the change that's necessary in order for them to move forward. How did you feel about that, Kelsey?
I love that. I think we all, again, cheered when
Yes.
this happened. A different reaction than before. But that was so good. And I think that if this season, or if they get another season, then that'll be a great storyline to see her versus Amanda Sharp.
Right.
And to see that conflict because
They have to work together now.
now they have to work together, but they believe in completely different things.
Of course.
So there's where your conflict comes. But I mean, we've seen Tia campaigning this whole series, so it was really good to get that payoff and, you know, to see her win and believe in something, you know, change and everything.
All right.
Great that she
All right.
believes in. So.
Miss Green Eyes. I want to let y'all know, look, I'm a Stephen A. Smith fan. He always talks about Max Kellerman's eyes.
Fax Kellerman.
Yeah, and so exactly, you know, we're not gonna talk about that. And now I'm looking at Kelsey. She has like these green eyes.
They are green. They are very pretty.
Yeah, very
girl.
pretty eyes.
Can we do a zoom
They're
in?
even prettier when you do that.
Yeah.
You know, there you go.
So, but moving forward, I would like to talk to Sebastian. I want to know, how did you feel? Did you feel like there was a resolve when Tia won?
It didn't feel like resolve to me. I felt like a victory.
Okay.
It felt like another step.
Okay. A big step.
A huge step.
Okay, good.
But no, not resolve. I think Tia and then the rest of these characters have a whole lot more to offer.
A lot
if you dig
more.
What I'm
I
saying.
know.
A whole lot more.
That maybe we would
Where
have to
the
unravel in
hell
like
did
a whole
Carranza go? No one even
I'm
knows.
saying, can I get
like
a
maybe
bail?
another season.
Yeah, I like to think he's in Cancun, Mexico. with a coronita. Just living the life.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, Sebastian, with all of the police brutality and police shootings that have been going on over the past few years, how are you hoping that the show The Red Line will further the conversation beyond protesting?
I just hope that people can watch this and one, feel the family's pain, feel the daughter's pain, feel Paul's pain for what he's done, and just kind of, and I touched on it earlier. I think when it comes to Paul's character, it just speaks to. It's not, she said something earlier too. Is like she said, I don't know who you were talking about. Somebody's kind of racist, right? Like kind of racism is kind of like the evolution of racism right now, right? Like now it's like people aren't really racist like that. They kind of racist now, and I think he's looking into himself and he's realizing, like he said, he's like, maybe I wouldn't have shot him if he was white, right? And I think that's such an amazing thing for a cop on television to say and think, because we're not saying you're bad, or we're just saying that, hey man, like. People have been shown in a certain light, black and brown people.
That's true.
And even myself am affected by it. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I've been in New York City, and I've been on one side of the street and, seen some white people come and didn't think twice, and then saw like a group of my black brothers or Puerto Rican brothers walking. I was like, oh shit, let me cross. They look like they might want to get me, you know what I'm saying? And you think to yourself, like, why do I think that? It's because I watch it on TV and I see it.
You're programmed.
And so the programming, just look at yourself and try to do your best and try to listen to other people when they hurt.
Yeah.
And I think this show was a lot of hurt in it.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will talk about it, even if they're offended, even if there's people who are police officers and don't really like the way, Paul was portrayed or whatever. And I think it's still good, because at the end of the day, we all talk about starting a conversation.
Right.
And to be part of a show that is a conversation and wants to spark it, it's just it's
Yeah,
dope.
that's
You don't
dope.
always get a chance to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as an actor.
Go ahead,
I was
AJ.
going to say, that's one thing I do like about the show, that it makes everyone think and get it from a different perspective. Because I was saying last time that, often when crime happens or something happens on TV, you kind of take one person's side. We usually take the victim side, or if you're a cop, you like, okay, well, this is how the cops feel. But we never kind of see how every single person is taking it and how each person is affected by it. Which, leads into the name of the show, The Red Line, because being that I'm from Chicago, the Red Line is the train station that connects the north side to the south side.
I wrote it.
So,
Did my research.
so yeah, just the fact that, you have Tia and her family on the south side of Chicago. Then you have Jirah and her family on the north side of Chicago, and it's two totally different
So
type
segregated.
of...
Chicago. It was my first time in Chicago was filming this.
Yes, Chicago is very, very segregated.
I was a little surprised by that. I wasn't expecting
you
that.
got the Greek town. That's where most of the Greeks are. You got Chinatown. That's where most of the Asian people are. And they have like their own stores. Everything is in their language. Then you go, you got the Mexicans on one part of the town, then the blacks, then you got the Africans over here. Like, it's very,
Puerto
very
Ricans in
segregated.
Hancock Park.
Yeah, it's
Shout
like, so, the fact that the name of the show kind of really just brought things together and kind of show that no matter where you're from, that we can kind of come together to try to make a positive change.
I like that you said that about the red line. So we did find out that it is the north and south train.
Yes. Yeah.
So the part that I feel is important that we didn't see a lot of was Ethan's perspective. He is the operator of the red line. So, like, I'm from Atlanta. So I just mentioned that earlier. I'm proud to be from Atlanta, but I'm glad I'm in LA. In Atlanta, it's segregated, but not that much. It's mainly segregated by income brackets, not race. So if you can afford $1 million home in Atlanta and you're Latin or Asian, then you live with Latin, Asian, white, black. It doesn't matter. So hearing you say that, it sounds like it doesn't matter how much money you make. You just stay on your side of town based on your ethnicity or your race.
I wouldn't say necessarily.
Yeah, it wasn't that segregated.
Not that segregated. Okay.
I was in a nice part of town.
Yeah, it's not that segregated, but it also goes into just systemic racism too. So it's kind of like no one asked to be there, but it's kind of like, the saying they say, "Oh, y'all crabs in a barrel," but it's like, well, who put the crabs in a barrel? Because crabs, that's not their natural environment in a barrel. So it's kind of like stuff that's already probably put in place from years and years and years and years ago.
Okay.
So
real quick, I want to say I thoroughly enjoyed Chicago. I just want to let whoever's listening know. Y'all hosted me well. I love the city.
Wait, did you check out did you check out the Chicken Harold's and Uncle Remus? Did you check that out while you was there?
We actually had a truck come to set one day. I think it was Matthew Cherry who called it, so we did have some chicken.
Okay. Gotta get Harold's though.
The food in Chicago was probably some of the best food I ever had in my life.
Everything in Chicago is good.
Oh, Lord. All right. Well, that wraps up our recap of the red line. So So we want to take the last few minutes and have some questions for Sebastian. If you have questions on the live chat, just send them, and if we can get to them, we will. I want to start off with Kelsey. Any questions you may have for Sebastian as far as the show?
Yeah. So when you got the role, I mean, were you presented with this like through your agent, and you decided to take the role because of the red line and all of what this meant, or how was that? Getting this part.
It was typical. Like, it was an audition.
Okay.
And when I got this, it's one of those things, I get a lot of auditions. Sometimes you read them and you're like, oh, maybe. And I read this one, I'm like, oh, I can do this. I was like, I like what he's saying. I just went and did it, I got a call a few days later, got the role. I mean, I worked with CBS a few times. I played a cop for CBS before, and it was a very similar kind of dynamic between me and the partner. So I think maybe they were just like, all right, we've seen him do it before. And my character in the Blue Bloods was a little bit more like Paul, a little prejudiced, basically kind of racist. So it was really good to be on the other side of it for this role.
Yeah.
So as soon as they said they were interested, I was like, please,
I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then you talked also a little bit about how you hope that the audience perceives this show. Have you had any kind of, I don't want to say backlash, but have you had any kind of feedback from the audience, good or bad, as far as, because you...
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't really know. I don't.
Okay.
I stay out the comments. You know what I'm saying?
That's pretty good.
Honestly, what I've heard.
I mean, no, it's not been any bad comments by any means.
I mean, I'm sure
It's been
there's
good.
one or
Yeah.
two, like snitch. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was interesting because my character, I think he's doing good at the end of the day. But there is a segment of people that's gonna be like, yo, he snitched. Like that's not cool. But I haven't heard any backlash. No.
Okay.
My mama loves it.
Good.
All right.
We love it too.
Hey,
we
Mama.
love it too.
What's happening, Mama?
Yeah, what's up, mom?
Well, I do have a question. You are from New York City.
Yeah.
Do you think Keven Durant is going to the Knicks?
Yo, bro, do we have another 45 minutes?
I'm saying.
I'm praying
Okay.
to Little Black Baby Jesus that Keven Durant does show up. We got the third pick. We're not getting Zion.
No.
You know what? You just made me sad. you just mad because you're from Atlanta and y'all got like the I don't know what.
Nothing.
Oh man, why you do that? This was real good until you go mix up.
That's why I waited till the end of the show.
Don't,
you know.
man, step down, man. Don't make me go out there and put on my cop uniform and arrest you.
He's gonna pull
His
him
cop
over.
uniform. He
I
probably got
love
one
it.
in
Yeah,
his house.
I keep it when there's requests.
Yeah. We'll keep that. No who's, no who's, no what's, no wins, and no wheres. All right, AJ, you have a question.
Sure. Yeah. So you started off in Broadway.
I did.
So is that something that you were passionate about? We just kind of get your feet wet a little bit.
I went to a professional performing arts school in New York City, and I was a singer. Like, I've been a singer my whole life. So they were like, do you sing? I'm like, yeah. Can you act, dance? I was like, yeah, I guess so. And the next thing you know, musical theater, and then the next thing you know, I'm getting some auditions, and I got a couple roles, and I was like 18, I stopped doing Broadway because I was like, I want to do TV and movie and stuff, but I miss it. I miss the connection of like the stage and that instant kind of, now you film something and you wait a year or 2 years. And
So would you go back to Broadway?
maybe if they come up on that change.
Oh, y'all, he know how to do Broadway. He already said it. He does Broadway.
Man, Broadway's a lot of
everyone.
work, man. There's some of the most talented people. When I feel like my knife was super sharp when I was auditioning for Broadway because you have to be. So many good singers, so many talented people who really care about the craft. So I'm kind of glad that I'm not competing in that realm. But it's not out of the question.
Can you sing something?
I was just about to say, can we get a preview of this?
Can I sing?
Something.
I mean, it'll be tough if I sang a little song.
Okay.
for you.
Oh.
All right, John B. Wait a minute.
Watch the red line, baby.
Okay, now look.
was good.
Y'all know I grew up a Church of God in Christ. I can grab the keys in its time.
We can talk next and you can get on the keys, brother. That ain't nothing to me. Well, I grew up, I had a group called Listen. Shout out to Mookie Collins. He was the pianist. He was the pianist of the group, and he was amazing, man. He grew up in church.
That's what's
so
up.
I used to sing very straight, speaking of Broadway, and then he brought me to church one day in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are they doing? And it changed my life.
Taking laps with
And
their
now,
tongues.
and now I think I'm Wanye from Boys to Men.
Look at you.
Like, brother, stop. Just sing it. We get it.
You can sing for us
Young Christina.
anytime.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's dope,
The
man.
little
That's what's
intro,
up.
the new intro song.
Yes.
Well, I did see here that you are in a movie, American Exit.
I'm in a movie.
All right. You want to talk about that for us, sir?
Mama, I made it. Yeah, American Exit, starring Dane Cook, very funny man. Levi Miller, extremely talented young man. Udo Kier, who was a legend in the game, and then myself. And it's pretty much a tale about a father and son. Father is sick and kind of wants to have one last bonding kind of trip with his son, but he's kind of a mess up, and he does some bad things, so me and Udo have to go find him because he stole something from us.
That sounds like a journey.
I'm a bad guy, and I talk kind of like this.
Okay, like you got marshmallows in your jaw?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And then is that out on streaming on Amazon Prime?
It's on most digital platforms. YouTube Red, Fandango, Hulu. I believe I Can Fly.
And Amazon
and all
Prime.
the other and on demand and all that good stuff. Check it out. I'm on it.
Watch it.
I'm wearing stuff and saying stuff.
That's what's up. I think based off what I've seen.
Sorry,
go ahead.
other movie called I believe it's called Hell Is Where the Home Is. Little horror movie I did where I get an axe in my face. I believe that comes out in the summer, but they haven't quite hit me up with the release date. But I'm actually excited to see that.
Do you last though? Like, do they act you in the first?
No, I don't make it, brother. That's
dirty, bro.
I just gave that away, didn't I? Well, yeah, axe to the face will do it to you.
Oh man,
ain't nobody gonna live from that.
I'm still gonna look at it though.
We still gonna tune in.
Well, that's what's up. We are glad that you came to be with us today.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
So wonderful, man.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, you are a wonderful person to interview. We had Benny last week. We have you this week.
Chibs.
Yes.
Chibs was here. Shout out to Chibs, man.
Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. We want to say thank you to all of the cast members. Ava DuVernay, we want to say thank you to you as being one of the executive producers. CBS, we thank you. We do hope that you all move forward in bringing up a little bit more of these issues. They're very important in our day. Miss Kelsey, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yes, thank you guys for watching. This has been great. I am Kelsey Hightower. You can find me at Kelsey Hightower, and you can watch my other AfterBuzz show on Good Girls tomorrow night, Monday, 9 p.m.
AJ.
Hey everyone, AJ. Follow me on Instagram at Crimson Pearl and check out my YouTube channel, AJ Talks.
All right, Mr. Sebastian.
Yo, quick shout out to Erica Weiss, Caitlin Parrish, and Kevin Hooks, our fearless leaders of this show and the creators.
All right, and I am
family.
your moderator, Joshua Wright. You can find me all things social media at Cleverly Clad. I'm doing Gentleman Jack tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We'll catch y'all later.
Thanks.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to afterbuzztv.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.